Hello and welcome to This Week in Bitcoin, brought to you by Relai Private. We've got some exciting news this week, a bit more infrastructure and explanatory, but let's not waste any more time and let's get stuck in. And news number one are bad news, good news, depending how you look at things, for people who want to send Bitcoin on-chain transaction. Currently, as you might have seen, right at the verge of the halving, which happened last week, the fees exploded again. This is not due to the halving like a couple of media outlets wrote. This is actually due to the Rune protocol, one of these protocols again that enables NFTs and tokenization and all of that stuff on top of Bitcoin. And it basically uses the Bitcoin blockchain as its main hub. And from there on out, you can create these tokens, NFTs, whatever. I personally don't have an issue if people want to experiment with these things. I mean, after all, it's their time, it's their investment that they put into these things. But I do have an issue if you actually time it around the halving, because there was some debate whether they would delay this or launch it right around the halving. They decided to do around the halving, and therefore just increase the price for transaction fees. And at one point it would cost you several $100s to actually send an on-chain transaction. It has calmed down again. So if you are stuck between sending or not sending, go to mempool.space and check out the current fees. They will come down again. We've seen this now with all of these ordinals and NFT hype phases. But yeah, after all, very annoying. But you know what? That's good news, because that means that scaling solutions need to step up and actually do a better job. Then second news come right out of the IMF, and surprisingly, they have released a paper, a research paper, where they took a closer look at the border transaction and cross-border transaction nature of Bitcoin, how it's being used, especially in third world countries, and how these countries interact with the West, the privileged financial system, and what possibilities there are. And not to our surprise, but probably to the surprise of the people at the IMF, there is a lot of opportunity for third world countries that they can actually use Bitcoin to get around sanctions. I mean, after all, the people living in these countries did nothing wrong. They just happen to live in a country that's being sanctioned by probably a tyrannical government. And secondly, it gives the opportunity to surpass the banking system, which is obviously something they don't like. In classical FUD fashion, they actually then added the side comments and like, oh, you shouldn't use this and this is a bit dangerous and all of that thing. But all in all, another report that shows how powerful Bitcoin is and that you can use it from anywhere in the world. And then last but definitely not least, we also have some news from Block, the parent company of Cash App, Square, and basically every Bitcoin project that Jack Dorsey is taking on. And they've announced a few months ago, actually, that they were looking into Bitcoin mining. Now they announced the production of a 3mm nano chip and a whole mining infrastructure, mining system is what they call it, that enables people who are already part of that Block ecosystem. They've got like a hardware wallet now that looks a bit weird, like a big poker chip. They got Cash App, where you can buy Bitcoin and send it, at least in the US. And with Square, they've now also implemented a 10% stacking fee. So whatever you take in, you can automatically convert 10% of that to Bitcoin and build a DCA stack. So on all fronts, they are offering Bitcoin products and are enabling Bitcoin. But now definitely with this step into Bitcoin mining, they're also taking not only a gamble, because Bitcoin mining is a hard business, but they're also taking the differentiated approach where you can offer Bitcoin, you can use Bitcoin, but they're also heavily investing now into actually mining and finding Bitcoin and sort of closing that loop on the entire ecosystem. Will be interesting to see if people will use this infrastructure or what further announcements Block has in store. We've also seen from other US companies that they now come to America. Maybe Block will do the same thing. Nevertheless, we wish them best of luck. And it's cool to see that Jack Dorsey is the ultimate Bitcoin bull. And with that, we're at the end of This Week in Bitcoin. You know the drill. If you got feedback, questions, or just want to say hello, put it down in the comments, and I'll see you next week again.